And welcome into another episode of Tobs Talk. I am Riley Corcoran. The Wilson Tobs last night faltered to the Peninsula Pilots, losing 6-2, allowing 5 runs to score in the third inning. Really couldn't come back from that. Seth Neely did it, a home run for Wilson, and the bullpen was incredible yet again for some bright spots moving into tonight, as Wilson will welcome in the Petersburg Generals for the 4th of July game. Fireworks presented by Thomas and Ferris. Also Watermelon Week at the ballpark presented by Dean's Farmers Market. So again, appreciate them being a part of tonight. It's very special, and I hope to see you out at the ballpark as well. Julio Valdez will get the start for the Wilson Tobs. He is now 1-1 with Wilson and improving on his last 2 starts very significantly. We'll try and do that again tonight as the Tobs will try and earn their first win of the second half. Right now, the Tobs sitting in 4th place in the East Division as we move towards the playoffs. 4 teams do make it, so Wilson in that spot right now where they need to improve and try and get some more wins and secure their spot in the Pettit Cup playoffs. Coming up on this episode, Allison Brake, the Watermelon Queen of North Carolina, will join me coming up next. Austin Love will join me to talk about the All-Stars. 3 All-Stars for the Wilson Tobs: Ridge Gonsolin, Matt Borens, and John Fitzsimmons. Well represented. Ridge Gonsolin will also compete in the Hitters Challenge, so a pretty big honor from the rising senior from LSU Shreveport. Jimmy Lupins, a rising senior from Canisius, will join me later on in the episode. He has started to get off to a hot start hitting and getting multiple hit games his last 2 times out. Then Matt, Mike, and I will get you ready for tonight's game against Petersburg. That's all coming up. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight. Riley Corcoran back here with Allison Brake, the 2013 North Carolina Watermelon Queen. Thanks so much for being here. First up.
Thanks so much for letting me come. I'm so excited.
Well, it's a big day for you, a big day for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
4th of July, to say the least. I know we've been gearing up for this game for a while, and for you being here in Wilson all day long,
yeah.
I mean, we've been looking forward to it for a while.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 4th of July is always fun. It's a great time to eat watermelons and hang out with friends, and to be able to be a part of a local team that I've grown up watching is really, really awesome.
And tell us a little bit more about your background. You won the crown in March, and it's going to be a busy year for you. This is kind of the start of it. So give us the background.
Yeah, North Carolina watermelon season kicks off in about 2 weeks. So this is really our kickoff to start the season. We've done a lot of traveling so far, getting ready to do a lot more. I am originally from Wilson. This was a statewide pageant, and I was fortunate enough to be crowned in March through the sponsorship of lots of great farms around the community, especially Dean's Farmers Market.
And again, Dean's Farmers Market will be out in full force tonight.
Absolutely.
And for, I guess, the Watermelon Queen, what does that all entail for the next year for you?
My job is to represent industry. My job is to go around and represent producers, retailers, marketers, and brokers, and people that package the melon, to the giant watermelon bins you see in the store, to the people that grow the melon, to the people that sell it. My job is to represent all of these people.
And for you, pretty big responsibility. I mean, you're still in school, so how do you balance having that?
Luckily, the association is very gracious in knowing that school comes first for us. It is our job to make sure that we get a quality education, and so they're willing to work with us with our schedules. But since watermelon season's during the summer, that really helps out a lot.
And for you, the background on school, you're going to Campbell right now, we were talking about, so just tell the viewers a little bit more about what you're hoping to accomplish the next couple of years.
Well, I'm actually a junior at Campbell University studying communication studies, concentrating in public relations. I really want to work in agriculture. I want to do stuff like this. I want to do public relations and represent a commodity group to help educate the public about how agriculture affects their lives.
Well, a little bit, the background is perfect for doing something like this today. And I wasn't sure how much of a sports background you have. You have a great sports background, especially at Campbell.
Absolutely.
Your baseball knowledge a little bit.
I do. I have been fortunate enough to work with the marketing department at Campbell University Athletics, so I work with all sports from football to lacrosse to baseball and softball. I'm doing promotional events with the fans at all of the games, so all of the stuff we're doing today, luckily I'm a little bit familiar with.
And again, Campbell, good baseball season last year. How fun was that to be around?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. The guys on the team are great to work with. The fans are phenomenal. And so this season was definitely one for the record books, and we're hoping the next one's going to be even better.
Well, hopefully for Campbell, we'll see if they can continue that on. And tonight for you, you talk about interacting with the fans. There'll be a lot of it. There'll be a ton of fans tonight, but you, I guess, interested at all in any of those inning races, the Dizzy Bat Race? I know we were talking about anything. I know they're going to have you participating all over the place.
Oh, yeah. I'm game for whatever. Tonight is the night about promoting watermelons and getting the people on their feet and get them excited about the Tobs game and the fireworks display. So anything that I can do to help do that, I am definitely game for.
And there's so many things that are in play, I guess, tonight with promotions, fireworks, everything, but Watermelon Week, something we've been looking forward to as well. For you, what's next? And the next trip on the tour, I guess, for the watermelon.
Yeah, our next trip, we're actually starting to do farmers market tours. We're going from Asheville to Raleigh, and we're hitting all the major farmers markets and just talking to the people and promoting watermelons and making sure that our local farmers are well represented in the community. opportunity.
Well, Allison Brake, the Watermelon Queen this year, a great representative and a busy year to start. So again,
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
We look forward to seeing her later tonight, and we'll continue on with Tobs Talk next on Greenlight. Riley Corcoran, Austin Love back with you here on Tobs Talk. The Tobs faltered last night, first game of the second half. But, Coach, before we talk about that game, it's been so long. It seemed like since the team had played, a 2-day layoff. Kind of unique with those rainouts. I mean, how'd you get your team ready to go? Just a little bit unique with 2 rainouts back-to-back.
As usual, don't really address it. Just, you know, they're all grown men. They all prepare pretty well. So we just go out there and play and, you know, try to get a win.
And the first question back at you, I mean, a little bit slow of a start. Christian Slasnik was not on top of his game. Just a little bit rough there in that one inning. It seemed one inning has hampered him in at least the last couple of starts. But the game overall, it just seemed like, you know, the Tobs just really couldn't get going offensively from that kind of standpoint to get back in the game, losing 6-2.
Yeah, the game seemed like there was a little bit of lag from the days off. You know, Peninsula's played more games in the East than anybody, so it seemed like maybe they were in a bit of a rhythm. Our first time through the lineup offensively, you could tell we hadn't seen live action in a while. And, you know, for Christian, it is always that one inning. And we made a couple mistakes as far as, you know, allowing their batter runner to get some extra bases in that inning, which really hurt us because we maybe could have had an opportunity to turn double play and do some different things. But overall, we played pretty well. You know, besides the one inning where Christian struggled, our bullpen continued to stay solid. Seth Neely hit another home run. And we had several opportunities to, you know, to get back in the game, get back in the game late. So it was very encouraging.
And the Tobs, again, that was their first game of the second half, now 0-1, but 15-12 overall. If it ended today, they would be the 4th seed from the East, and we're going to start looking at that the next couple of times here on Tobs Talk because, let's face it, unless each team goes on a big-time run, the Tobs will be, you know, towards that playoff line, whether to make it or not. It'll make things exciting, to say the least. But let's go into Seth Neely and how he is in a groove right now. I was disappointed he didn't make the All-Star team, very much so, at least with the tear that he's been on. He hits a home run last night that pretty much goes off of the scoreboard. What is he doing so well to get in a groove and stay hot like that, batting over 320 now?
I think he's continuously trying to attack fastballs. You know, in school ball, he faced a lot of off-speed, a lot of curveballs and change-ups, and you know, Jim Lupins is also batting behind him, which I think is a little bit of protection for him to get some fastballs. And when Ridge Gonsolin and Sean Godfrey are on base in front of him, they both like to run a little bit, so it's forcing the other team to throw him more fastballs. And when he does want to sit on something slow, he can, and he can do some damage with it. So it's working out pretty well, him hitting in the 3-hole.
Again, on the surface, it looks like, well, the Tobs lose 6-2 wasn't that encouraging, but it was because people that are around the team on a constant basis, like you and myself, obviously, you see the lineup that was put together last night and you just have a glimmer of hope. Wow, this is pretty dynamite if all these guys are clicking. Talk about Jimmy Lupins, who we'll talk with here in a second. He's starting to get on a tear a little bit after a little bit of a slow start by his standards. Corey Dunbar last night. Let's talk about Corey getting a hit for him in his first appearance, but so raw, but has a lot of tools that I was impressed behind the plate what he's able to do and getting a hit in his first game.
Yeah, I think, did he have 2 hits?
2 hits.
You know, he had 2 hits, and you can just tell he's a next level kind of guy. The game looks easy to him. He's physically strong, even though he looks like a baby in the face. You know, he's going to be a big part of what we do in the second half from an offensive standpoint and a catching standpoint, and he can also play some other positions too, so it'll be interesting to see how we can try to get all our big bats in the lineup at one time.
And again, all of a sudden you think of throughout the course of a season how things could turn from weakness to strength. The catching position for the Tobs now pretty deep. You have Holt Perdzak, who's batting right around 300. Luke Lowry, who we talked with last episode, he's starting to get hot. And now Corey Dunbar. What does that do for your team to have so many options there behind the plate?
It allows us to make moves, you know, within a game without having to be nervous about not having a catcher. You know, and what's crazy is we actually have another couple other young men who have caught in their time, in their lives, so we probably have, 3 emergency catchers also on the roster that, I'm not afraid to put back there, if need be. But all 3 of those men, they're starting to swing the bat pretty well, and they all catch and throw pretty well, and they all control the pitchers very well. So, we're very pleased with anybody that we put back there any night.
And again, the Tobs trying to get on a winning streak now before the All-Star break. They will have 3 games in the next 3 nights before a couple guys will go up to Peninsula. Let's talk about the All-Stars for the Tobs because it's the first time that we've had the opportunity to do so here. But Ridge Gonsolin gets the start. Very pleased about that. Kind of a no-brainer. Matt Bournes and John Fitzsimmons get the call as well. I'm sure that from our standpoint, a lot of guys were left out, but at the same time, those 3 guys well-deserved.
Yeah, those 3 guys have been, been standouts for us. Ridge, again, I think he had 2 more hits last night. He's just a solid player, does whatever you ask of him, plays the game hard, plays it the right way. And Matt, excuse me, he's pretty much been our ace. When he goes out there, he goes deep into the game without throwing many pitches at all. So again, like you said, he's a no-brainer. And John, he's only been here a short time, but I think he leads the East in saves, and he wants the ball, and he has great stuff. So, they'll all represent us pretty well in the All-Star game.
John Fitzsimmons, 4 saves already and 11 strikeouts in just a short time here. So has made an impact from your perspective. You've played in this league before and now coaching in it. What's the All-Star game experience like? I know they're adding a couple twerks this year a bit, but how special is it for these guys? Is it more to just play in front of scouts? Is it more to just meet new players and whatnot? Or what's the All-Star experience really like?
I think it's just, more for them getting the recognition. I think at this level of the game, it is about playing in front of the scouts and having that opportunity. As far as them changing up some of the festivities with the hitting challenge instead of the home run derby, I'm not quite sure how that's going to go. But whoever's participating, I'm sure it'll be fun. And like you said, the guys will get to mingle with the other teams a little bit. But hopefully they'll stay pretty reserved in that because, we don't need friends, we need wins. So hopefully the guys will have a good time, represent us pretty well in the East to win, and we can get back to Wilson and continue our games.
And Coach Austin Love will be an assistant in that game for the East Division All-Stars. That game will happen on Monday. Tobs return home on Tuesday, but let's go to tonight, turn the page a bit. Julio Valdez will get the start. Petersburg comes in, their win-loss record, not, I guess, desirable at this point with what they did in the first half, but they've reset the page. They beat Edenton last night, and despite what's happened, there's been a lot of close games between Petersburg and Wilson. There was the blackout game a couple weeks ago. There was a contest up there that was pretty close. John Valek threw a good game, but what's the team going to have to do to get on that winning streak tonight and get going again against Petersburg?
We need more of the same out of Julio, just going deep in the game, throwing very few pitches and just give us a chance to be in the game. And, again, like we talked about in the past, we need to capitalize on first and second, nobody out, second and third, less than 2 outs. And, we need to pay a little more attention defensively to the batter runner and not letting him take the extra base and just continue to be aggressive and hone our skills a little bit and make a good run for it. Petersburg is a very good club despite their record. So, and in this league, the talent level is not very, very different from team to team. It's just, a bad bounce here, a bad bounce there, or, one ball up and somebody doing some damage with it. So hopefully our guys will be focused in today and we'll win on 4th of July.
And again, Petersburg has turned it around even in the second half, beating Edenton last night. It's a huge step in the right direction. See if the Tobs can get back on a winning streak, and we'll talk with Jimmy Lupins coming up next. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight. Riley Corcoran back here with Jimmy Lupins, a standout right now for the Wilson Tobs. Coming from Canisius a little bit late, and Jimmy, we'll go into school ball first for you. What a whirlwind of a season it was. I mean, you led the team in hitting this year, batted .360, phenomenal for a team that won the conference championship. What was the experience like this year?
Oh, it was unreal. Just a great atmosphere with the guys. We all just clicked and meshed really well, and it showed this year after losing the year before in the conference championship. We all had like a taste in our mouth where we wanted to go out there and prove everyone that we could do it. So we all just meshed really well and worked out.
And again, from a team perspective, we'll go on it. You won over 40 games this season and winning that conference championship. Was that pretty much the biggest goal coming in? I mean, you guys had the talent. John's here as well. We talked with him a couple weeks ago. But was that the goal coming in? You knew this team was good enough, and to get over the hurdle and finally do it in the conference tournament had to be pretty gratifying.
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal from day one every year is to make it to a regional and win the conference championship, so it was good to bring it home for the first time in school history. Again,
from the regional side of things, you played in the Chapel Hill Regional.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool experience. I know that I've talked about this with you a lot. We were on the bus trip back, I believe, from Morehead City. We're looking and we're watching the game on our phone, and all of a sudden there you come in at the plate in one of the biggest situations in the 8th inning. Take our viewers a little bit through it and what that was like for you. Had to be just a rush.
Yeah, packed out stadium. Everybody up on their feet, clapping and stuff was unreal. A little nerve-wracking at the plate, but it was fun. But I know, like, I went up there thinking guy on second and third, just try to see a fastball and drive it, but got 2 curveballs, and then Thornton hit me in the wrist. And,
well, again, we were saying you've been plunked so many times by pitch. We'll talk about that in a second. But from an individual standpoint, Jimmy, the last 2 years, they've been great. You can't really script it any better. You've led Canisius in hitting, 345 last year, 360 this year. Did you make an adjustment maybe between freshman and sophomore year, or what has changed for you to be such a standout for your team and leading it in pretty much everything offensively?
Yeah, like I tried working on my body a little bit more. I came in as a freshman. I wasn't really fit. I mean, I wasn't fast. I couldn't really move laterally and stuff like that. So like it was hard for coach to put me out in the field. And then DHing, I had a hard time because I hadn't seen it every day. Like live pitching, I'd come in, pinch hit, or I'd start at DH, and I just didn't have my confidence there. And confidence key when you're up there against guys like that throwing to you, you know?
And a big-time power hitter for you, of being able to go gap to gap. Also your speed. And I tell you, I say this in all seriousness, you have sneaky speed. I know that you worked on your times a little bit. It's a pretty cool story if you'd like to share that a little bit with our listeners, viewers, how you improved and now you're 60 time under 7.
Yeah, well, freshman year I came in, I ran like a 7.4, 7.5, and then over my freshman summer I wound up running like a 7.8, 60, and I was just like, man, I got to do something about this. So I took I went to a personal trainer, and I took it really seriously, and we just worked on speed, agility, and strength, and it just worked out. Now I got my time this past year down to a 6.9. So
very impressive to say the least, and it's helped on a couple balls that are maybe singles, doubles, and we'll transition a bit now to your start in Wilson. It was a little bit slow start for you, and maybe pressing a bit or just getting back in the swing of things after waiting for the draft. But your first couple hits, most of them were extra base hits. Most of them were doubles, so the speed comes into play. But talk about your first 2-3 weeks here with Wilson.
It was a struggle. I mean, I was definitely pressing at the plate, couldn't really find a rhythm. But I talked to coach and my dad, and my dad was like, yeah, I saw your hands are too high and you narrowed your stance, and I just was like, okay, that helps, now I know what to do. So I widened out a little bit and lowered my hands and my stance, and starting to find a rhythm now.
And I knew that you were my pick to get on a rhythm here in a little bit, to start getting going. 2 hits last night in that loss at Peninsula, but how much more comfortable do you feel at the plate? The last couple of times out, you can see it. It translates a lot up in the press box, at least to me. How do you feel from a mental state right now?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I struggled a little bit with the curveballs lately, but I'm just trying to lay off those pitches that are out of the zone and just look for a fastball or a curveball that's where I could drive it and just put a barrel on and hit it hard.
And again, for the rest of the season here with Wilson, you come down here with John Fitzsimmons. Both of you guys have been staples right now in the Wilson Tobs success. And for you, I know you waited until the draft was over. That was a unique experience. Maybe thought you were going to get your name called or not. Just towards the end of it for you, how much more motivation does that propel you towards next year to get ready for it, to get ready for the draft and to improve that much more?
Oh, it's been a dream of mine since I've been playing baseball to get drafted and play in the pros. But yeah, when it didn't happen this year, I was kind of upset about it. But I just know that next year I have another year where I could just prove myself even more and hopefully do what I did this past year and get my name called.
Especially with Canisius, a lot of time to prepare for that, and I'm sure you will for the Wilson Tobs in the short term in the next 3 or 4 weeks. What are you looking forward to see? I mean, this team has a lot of talent. I know that, again, you fit in very well with the mix, DHing, a little bit of first base as well. What do you think this team can do in the next 3 or 4 weeks?
I think we could turn it around and get into the playoffs and possibly make a run at the Pettit Cup. So.
And if they're able to do that, Jimmy Lupins will be certainly in the mix. Matt Michael will join me next. We'll break down this matchup tonight against Petersburg. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight. Riley Corcoran and Matt Micah back with you. The Tobs getting ready to take on the Petersburg Generals tonight. And Matt, we were both up in Hampton, Virginia last night for that tough loss. Tobs lose 6-2. It's a rough start turned in by Christian Slazik. Really no way in getting around that. Had a rough 3rd inning where allowed 5 runs to score. Tobs just really couldn't climb back up in there. What you really see from Slazik, he just wasn't on top of his game last night.
He was throwing a lot of pitches earlier in the game. As soon as you start getting that pitch count up, in the 2nd, 3rd inning, it's tough for a starter to go deep in the game because next thing you know, all the guys throughout the entire order seeing all your pitches.
And again, for him, a lot of 2-out walks, just not trying to be as effective. It seemed like the bullpen did a pretty good job limiting Peninsula in it. The Tobs had one big rally in the 6th inning that just went. It was tough because they could not score more than that home run from Seth Neely. Seemed like they were trying to get back into it. Did you like the fight that at least you saw from the Tobs the last couple of innings to try and get back in the game?
Yeah, it was great to see that fight. You always want to see that fight from any ball team. You're never down and out. Even if you're going to lose the game, go out swinging.
And again, a couple guys with multiple hits. We just talked with Jimmy Lupins, who had 2 hits. He's starting to come on strong. Corey Dunbar in his first game picked up a hit for the Tobs. Those two guys, let's focus in on them a little bit. Jimmy, it seems like to me he's going to get on a roll. It's getting pretty close. I mean, his numbers at Canisius, you know he's going to get back up to that level. He hit 345 and then 360 the past 2 seasons. Struggled out of the gates, but he gets 2 hits last night. Dunbar looked good. I know we were commenting up that when we were watching in the game of what Dunbar could do. What do you think about those two guys and how crucial they're going to be to the Tobs' success?
Oh, both of them have a tremendous amount of power. First off with Lupins, he was struggling earlier in the year, but now he's starting to get in a groove. He talked earlier about, lowering his hands, widening his stance, seeing more fastballs and start, pounding those fastballs. Then Dunbar, he's just athletic and he's big. He's a big guy. He's a lot of power.
And again, the Tobs been waiting for Dunbar to come from North Carolina, played in the College World Series a bit, the backup catcher for the Tar Heels this year. And the Tobs, since we were in Peninsula last night, we can talk about the All-Star game, the 3 participants for Wilson, Ridge Gonsolin. I thought that was a no-brainer. He gets the start. And then Matt Borens, as well as John Fitzsimmons, will represent the team. Let's talk about Ridge. I mean, you can't say enough about what he's done this year. He's batting over 350. He leads the Tobs in hits, runs, RBIs, all the way down the board. He's just been phenomenal. Well-deserved for him to make the All-Star team.
Yeah, Gonsolin is the motor of the Tobs. He's that guy that will grind out at bats. He's the leader of the team. He's the oldest one on the team.
Mm-hmm.
He has all the wisdom. He has all the experience, and he'll carry this team throughout the entire playoffs.
And again, the hitting challenge, he'll be a participant in that. Only 6 participants from each side, so pretty big honor for Ridge to compete in that as well. And let's go to Matt Borens, the #1 starter. I know we've talked about him a ton on this show, but he has been well-deserved of that with what he's done. Really only 1 bad start. He did pretty well against Team USA in 4 solid innings. But Matt Borens, what do you like so much from him with what he's been able to do for Wilson?
His confidence. He's the man of the staff. He wanted to take that role early in the season, and he established that where he's going to be the guy, pressure's on, he wants the ball.
And even though the Tobs only had 3 players be represented on the team, I thought it was unique that they all came in different facets. You had the one hitter in Ridge Gonsolin who's led the team. That was a no-brainer. You had Matt Borens from the starting side of things. Then the bullpen, which has been so great. It's nice to see someone was represented. I thought maybe Josh Johnson to get the call, Nick Monroe even, but John Fitzsimmons gets the call, and again, that's no surprise to me with what he's been able to do. I know we've been talking about him since, it seemed like April when we first were starting to talk about this roster, but he's come on the scene, done very well. Nice to see him, even though he's thrown less than 10 innings, he gets the call for the All-Star game too. Pretty nice to see.
Yeah, he's lights out. He gets on the bump. He's got that focus about him. He has that presence about him where he gets on the mound. He wants to shut the door and get the win for the Tobs.
And we'll see if the Tobs now can get a win against Petersburg tonight. Let's turn the page. Julio Valdez will get the start. He has been very good since I'd say the second start against Fayetteville, a little bit shaky with his walks, but he pitched in the train game, High Point, Thomasville. Since then, it's been a domination pretty much from him. He'll get the start against Petersburg, the left-hander from Alabama State. What does he need to do to get the Tobs at least on the right track, turn in a quality start so Wilson can get the bats going and hopefully jump out to a lead against Petersburg?
When he's effective, he establishes that curveball for strikes. That's when he's most effective. He throws his fastball, but he throws that curveball for strikes, get the hitter off his game, get his pop-ups, get his ground balls, and when he, starts getting in a tempo, gets deep in the game to 6th inning, 7th inning, that's when he's most effective.
So we'll see if the Tobs can get the win tonight, get their first win of the second half from the social media aspect of it. Matt, I know that you've been all over it with the 4th of July game coming up tonight. Of course, the rest of the season, now that this rain has started to settle in, everyone is always wondering, was the game on, is the game off? Just remind all of our listeners and our fans out there of how you can contact and I guess stay in touch with the Tobs in case there is a rain out or anything like that fact.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram at Wilson Tobs. I will be, keeping the fans, all you guys, updated with rain delays, events, promotions, cool pictures, cool videos, funny videos. Just stay in touch with social media.
And we'll see if the Tobs can get back on track tonight with the win. We're not expecting any weather in the area, but we never know with this North Carolina summer. We'll wrap up the show next. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight. And another episode of Tobs Talk in the books. Wilson getting ready to take on the Petersburg Generals in the 4th of July game. Fireworks presented by Thomas and Ferris afterwards. Looking forward to that. As well as Watermelon Week with Dean's Farmers Market. Again, that will be in full force. Wilson trying to get back on track here in the second half. Their second game of this portion of the schedule. 15-12 overall right now. Fighting for that last spot in the playoffs, something we will keep our eye on throughout the course of the next 3 weeks. Julio Valdez, the left-hander from Alabama State, will get the call. He has been impressive his last 3 starts, limiting to opposing teams just 1 run or less in his last 3 appearances for Wilson. We'll try and get them back on the winning ways as they lost to Peninsula last night 6-2, but Julio Valdez called for duty tonight. We'll see if he can get the win. Austin Love on the show earlier today to talk about his squad, what he likes moving forward, the new players. Jimmy Lupins, who you heard from as well, he's starting to get hot. Another 2-hit game for him last night. Matt, Mike, and I broke down the All-Stars, Ridge Gonsolin, Matt Borens, and John Fitzsimmons. Again, another congratulations to them. We'll be back on the air tomorrow to get you ready for Wilmington and Wilson. This is Tobs Talk on Greenlight.